It's summertime, but Ryuji, an average high school student, is preparing to settle for a boring summer with classes at school. Once there, his second cousin, Eriko, kidnaps him and immediately recruits him into her newly created treasure hunting organization. Ryuji is forced to be Eriko's accomplice in a heist, stealing what Eriko calls a lost precious from a shady group of guys. Using a low-level magical cane that shoots butterflies as a distraction, she manages to intercept a large black box from an underworld group known as Fang. However, a short car chase soon follows, as the men aren't going to give up their treasure that easily. During the chase, the case is shot open, revealing a blonde-haired girl who can shoot fire out of her hands. When she shoots a massive fireball at their pursuers, Eriko begins to realize the little girl may be much more powerful than she ever imagined. Because of her help, Eriko and Ryuji can get away safely. Hiding out at Ryuji's home, it's revealed that the girl can only speak one word, Ryuji's name. But Ryuji claimed that he's never met her before. Shortly after, it's revealed that the girl is a red dragon, based on the dragon scales that she has on the back of one of her hands. The dragon girl is eventually given the name Rose, and begins quickly learning the Japanese language through her two caretakers and TV. Although life seems well, but the next morning, while the group is having breakfast, a scientist man shows up outside the window on a helicopter. Episode 2. Ryuji, Eriko, and Rose get on the helicopter to go to the laboratory because the professor wants to examine Rose. After arriving at the laboratory, Ryuji is feeling uneasy. The professor asks what breaker level is he. He says that he is a level 10 breaker, and the professor is shocked and asks for his surname. He says Kisaragi. Then the professor figures out that he is the son of the famous travelers, the Kisaragi couple. Inside a room, the professor begins examinations on Rose. After doing some experiments for a while, he says that Rose closely resembles a human in every part of her body. The professor also says that Rose is still a whelp, so she can't transform into a dragon fully, but she'll be able to use her wings. Ryuji recalled that he met Rose 10 years ago on a mountain, and he fainted after seeing the egg hatch. After he woke up, he found out that he is inside his house, so he thought it was just a dream. Meanwhile, Ryuji's friends are talking about Eriko. Misaki explains that Eriko is Ryuji's childhood friend that came from overseas and has been there for a while. While remembering the past, Ryuji gets confused and says something harsh to Rose, which makes her cry. While Ryuji and the others are still inside the laboratory, Onyx arrives in front of the society. The guard asks him to leave, but he refuses and takes out all the guards guarding the front gates of the society. The society seals off the front with a thick concrete barrier, but Onyx melts it like cheese. Then he commences his assault inside the society to retrieve Rose. Onyx is a black dragon, and he can use his powers freely and easily, so he just wipes out everyone guarding the society. Then he goes to Rose's location, and beats Ryuji up to make Rose come with him. Onyx's mission is successful, so he goes back to marry Rose. Episode 3. Onyx uses mist on Rose to make her fall asleep, to avoid any problems while going to their hideout. Eriko says that they are going to save Rose, but Ryuji seems lifeless. Meanwhile, when Rose wakes up, she talks to Onyx. She asks him the reason why she wants to marry her. Onyx says that he needs more power to obtain all the lost precious in the world, and by engaging with Rose, he can gain overwhelming power. Upon remembering his past, Ryuji decides to help them save Rose. Eriko says that he needs a lost precious to be able to save Rose, so they come and get the Slash Breath. She also says that Ryuji's parents made the society lock the security, so Ryuji is the only one who can open it. Ryuji is nervous because of the accident he had when he was a kid, concerning losing Precious. Ryuji uses Slash Breath and cuts down the pillars of the building. After that, they make preparations for infiltrating the temporary hideout of Fang. Rose sees Onyx and attacks him, but he doesn't even receive a scratch. Onyx makes Rose give up on Ryuji, so he doesn't need to kill him, and Rose agrees. Ryuji and others encounter a magnetic field that is making electronic devices malfunction. Ryuji destroys the barrier using his Slash Breath. When they successfully infiltrate, Fang immediately attacks them. They manage to escape through the elevator hatch. When they arrive at Rose's location, they find Onyx with her. Ryuji manages to make Rose come back to him. Rose manages to escape Onyx with the help of Eriko. Onyx gets mad and attacks Ryuji, but Ryuji manages to block Onyx's attack using Slash Breath. Onyx shows them his real form. He is almost invincible. Even Ryuji's Slash Breath isn't working. Rose and Ryuji use engagement to raise Slash Breath's power. Ryuji manages to defeat Onyx by borrowing Rose's power, but he gets hit by a dragon's scale and almost dies. Ryuji says that Rose can live with them. Rose is very happy. Episode 4. Ryuji and friends go for a vacation at the beach. Ryuji receives a letter with a dragon mark on it. Ryuji and his friends meet the person who sent the letter. She introduces herself as Princess Maruga, the Empress of the White Dragons, who asks for their help to recover a lost precious in possession of George Evans, a powerful breaker who believes that dragons are an evil to be vanquished. Despite that, he never actually met one in person. He's the one who won't hesitate to use violence. Ryuji asks her that there are other people who she can ask to do this. Maruga tells them that he's the 8th level 10. Furthermore, he is a special one who can understand dragons. Ryuji, Rose, and the others go to a festival and coincidentally meet George. After some trouble comes up to the festival, Ryuji, Rose, and Maruga escape up to a flight of stairs, with George right behind them. The episode ends when George looks at Maruga and falls in love, still not knowing the fact that she and Rose are dragons. Episode 5. Seeing that George has fallen in love with Maruga, Eriko devises a plan to take back the sword. It fails due to an unforeseen circumstances, and also ends up breaking a poor classmate's heart when she mistakenly believes that Ryuji's engagement to Rose means an actual real engagement. When Maruga realizes that George is a pretty good guy, she reveals the real reason why she wanted to get back the sword is because it's cursed, among other things. Although Ryuji believes that George's perception of dragons can never change, Rose believes otherwise, and goes to confront him at the church. When Ryuji, Eriko, and Maruga get there themselves, Ryuji is forced into a standoff with George, who is now possessed by a cursed sword. After resolving this matter, Maruga takes her leave, hinting that she may make another appearance later on. Episode 6. Ryuji, Eriko, and Rose attend a party with many A-class and above lost preciouses. They also meet a new collector who seems interested in Eriko. He tells her that if he finds out anything about her other earring, then he will contact her. The guests are attacked by Odd Eye, a half-beast lost precious thief whom Ryuji had just seen in a magazine. Later at their home, she tries to steal Eriko's earring, but ends up tied to Ryuji by a failed capture device, and they end up kissing. While waiting for the binding to vanish, they learn that her true name is Ai, and try to figure out who is making her steal, and why. The next day, Eriko answers a knock on the door. It is the new collector, who says he has found the other earring. He opens the box supposedly containing the earring, but it releases a sleeping powder, which puts Eriko and Rose to sleep. He then tells Ai to follow him, putting Ryuji to sleep as well. Episode 7. The rope finally comes off of Ryuji and Ai. Ai's master puts him in a closed room, and asks him about his A-class precious later. He and Ai then go to a room where he tells Ai to rest for a while. It is also revealed here that her master does have the other earring. Ai, dazzled by the beauty of the earrings, puts them on. The earrings gives the ability to the person wearing them to hear a person's true thoughts. Ai's master comes back not knowing that she put on the earrings, and answers all of Ai's questions falsely, including unintentionally telling her that he kidnapped her 15 years ago and raised her to be a dog for his experiments. Knowing this, Ai flees the room to save Ryuji. They escape to the balcony, where Eriko and Rose come just in time to help. It is revealed that Ai's master is Furumori, a person being looked for by society, and he has 5 lost preciouses inside his body. After having 4 out of 5 of these lost preciouses destroyed by Rose's dragonfire, Furumori uses his last lost precious to disappear into the atmosphere. Ai goes back to her human family, where she was kidnapped from. Episode 8. Ryuji wakes up fighting Rose dressed up in his school's girl uniform, saying she wants to go to school too. Ryuji agrees, but makes her promise that she won't use her wings and fire. When they get to school, the class is suddenly disrupted by Bianca Alexandra Liu, a woman sent by the society to evaluate Ryuji. She fires a sama at Ryuji, and finds his physical level is 326, and his lost precious level is 120. She seems slightly disappointed, and says she will test his maximum lost precious level later. After a whole bunch of questioning, Bianca takes Ryuji outside to start the test. Ryuji needs to battle a Neo Golem. After Ryuji severely hurts it and the Neo Golem still doesn't shut down, Bianca realizes there is something wrong with it and tries to automatically shut it down when it doesn't work. She climbs up the robot and tries to shut it down manually. Ryuji and Rose engage and stop the Neo Golem. At the same time all this happens, Eto figures out it's Ryuji's birthday the day after and tries to figure out what to get him for his birthday present. Episode 9. Eriko has taken up Lost Precious for praising in an attempt to get her treasure hunting organization appealed by the board. This results in a huge painting getting delivered to Ryuji's house. Unfortunately, the painting is a cursed Lost Precious that traps girls, including Ai and Misaki, who had the misfortune to drop by Ryuji's house that day. Inside the painting, the girls find themselves in an abandoned US town, with the words liar written everywhere. While trying to find an exit, they run into a crazy axe-wielding man and are forced to retreat into a mansion. They eventually find themselves inside a room with a mirror, and that's when things start getting crazy. There's a spirit that lives inside the mirror, and all 4 girls have to answer each question the spirit gives truthfully, or else they'll be turned into photographs and remain trapped within the painting for eternity. Interestingly, all of their answers relate to Ryuji's in some way. Even though the girls answer honestly, the spirit seems unwillingly to believe that woman could ever tell the truth, and so manifests itself as the axe-wielding man and continues to give chase. During all of this, Ryuji has been desperately trying to find a way to free the girls, and with some help from the scientist Bianca, is only able to finally accomplish this when the spirit attempts to drag Bianca into the painting also. Episode 10. Ryuji, Eriko, Rose, Ai, and Misaki happen to meet yet another dragon while on a camping trip. The new dragon is a blue dragon, and her name is Sapphire. She vows revenge against Ryuji for defeating Onyx before, saying that Onyx is her lover. However, she's mostly all talk, as her powers are now nowhere near powerful enough to do such harm. Around this time, Misaki finally lets in on the secret that Rose is a dragon, and Ai is a wolf-human hybrid. Fortunately, she seems pretty cool with both of these things, and vows to keep their true identities a secret. At school, Misaki and Rose have become good friends, much to the amazement of Mao, who's still rapidly shipping Misaki with Ryuji. As Rose makes her way home after school, she ends up meeting Sapphire, who attempts an epic duel with Rose. This backfires and Sapphire becomes friends with Rose instead, telling her about a few dragon rituals, one of which is the coming-of-age ritual. All Rose has to do to complete it is to get Ryuji to kiss her hand where her dragon scale are. After Ryuji does this, however, Rose starts acting strange. Rose begins acting more normal, like a girl in love. Unfortunately, this ends up opening a rift into the relationship between Rose and Ryuji. Episode 11. Rose's change in attitude continues even after a night's sleep. This, in turn, much to Eriko's dismay, makes the couple awkward around each other. At school, Rose tries to consult Misaki and Ryuji, vaguely tries to sing with Masato, but to no avail. Rose's condition gets worse during PE, to the point where she collapses. She is transferred to the Society's Dragon Lab. Meanwhile, Eriko and Bianca manage to capture Sapphire, who had returned to regain the shoe that she has left behind. Questioning her reveals that Rose's condition is not normal, and Sapphire herself does not understand what's going on. Onyx contacts Ryuji and reveals to him that the dragon's right of adult does not take effect with humans, but only with the dragon's partners, and that Rose's current condition is because Ryuji is not human, but a lost precious with power over dragons called the Dragon Crisis. If Ryuji continues to stay near Rose, her condition will only worsen. Left with no choice, Ryuji hands Rose over to Onyx. More than 2 weeks later, Ryuji goes to and acts normal in school, but Misaki realizes that Ryuji is hiding his feelings. Later that night, Maruga returns to talk with Ryuji. Episode 12. Onyx has given Rose medicine that erases most of her memories, including those of Ryuji. Sapphire is upset about this, and feels it is mostly her fault, since she forced Rose to go through the coming-of-age ritual. Kai informs Sapphire they are leaving Japan the next day. Meanwhile, Maruga has a long talk with Ryuji, that everything Onyx said before was probably a lie to get Rose back. Around this time, Ryuji finally comes to terms with his feelings towards Rose. With Ryuji's confidence restored, Maruga helps Ryuji and Ko to put a plan into action to rescue Rose. The next night, Ryuji and Ko successfully hijack the private jet that Onyx and his gang are on. Ryuji then reunite with Rose, who has regained her memory with help from Sapphire. Onyx is upset by this turn of events, and so tries carrying the plane while in its dragon form. Ryuji and Rose can stop him with the power of love and gate, and Onyx is once again defeated, and so things go back to somewhat normal. Ryuji and Rose are back in school, but it appears that Sapphire and Kai have decided to stick around for a while too. However, it is apparent that at least one big thing has changed Ryuji's and Rose's relationship.